Hey guys, I'm Tyler, and today I want to take the back seat of my truck from looking like this, with stuff everywhere, to looking like this. Much more organized, just how I like it. This video is sponsored by sawblade.com. Visit their website for a full line of woodworking and metalworking blades and machinery. As some of you might know, if you follow me on Instagram, which you totally should, if you don't, go over there, DIYTyler G on Instagram, get project updates, we do giveaways over there. It's just generally a pretty good time. If you guys didn't know, I got myself a Silverado pickup truck. It's got a crew cab, and in the back seat here, I want to improve on what I have here quite a bit. So here's the back seat of the pickup truck right now with the seats folded up. And I want to improve on this area here quite a bit. So when I do have to slam on the brakes, things don't slide out into the floor. And I'd like to do a little bit better at getting this stuff, which is like an impact wrench for changing tires, survival kit, some ice wash, tire patch kit. I want to get that stuff underneath the bench so I don't have to slide it around when the kids get in the back seat here. So what I'm going to do is create a plywood barrier to keep everything in there, and we're going to paint it black or paint it gray to match the interior of the vehicle, and we'll see how it goes. I would like to round the corners, so that'll be kind of cool. I've never done that with plywood before, and we'll get that tucked in there, hopefully get myself a little more room underneath the bench of this truck. Take some measurements here, see what we're going to do. The height is a pretty important factor here. Obviously you want the benches to fold down all the way, so the height in the front and the back is pretty important. I want the outside corners of this bench, which are going to wrap around the bench, right underneath where the radius of the bench is, to be round, to somewhat match the bench itself, so you don't have a hard corner sticking out from the corner of the bench, and so that you don't have to lose some of the area of the bench by moving that whole thing underneath if you wanted to go with a sharp corner. If you want to go with a sharp corner, make your measurements, cut it, boom, you're all done. But I want to put a radius. So I took a guess and made an 8-inch circle, put it underneath the bench, and it happened to work out the first time. And I got the circumference of that circle using 2 pi r, which is 25.13 inches. Divide that by 4, gives me 6.25 for the quarter of that circumference that I need for underneath each side of the bench. So I need that twice. It's roughly 12.5 inches. Let's think of this as the corner of the bench, and this is the radius that I want to put on there. The distance from here to here is 4 inches, as is here to here. So you want to make sure that you remove each of those 4 inches from the width of your bench and the depth of the bench, and supplement 6.25 inches instead, which is the measurement of this radius right here. In doing that, to take account for both sides, my total width now is going to be 46 inches. I got 6.25 times 2 for the radius on each side, and then the depth of my bench, taking into account the 4 inches we took away, now only 9.5. So my total board, I think, needs to be 77.5 inches to give me the depth that I need on both sides, and then the front of this box. So I'm going with 77.5. Keep our fingers crossed. This section right here is going to be what sticks from the front of the bench to the back, where we need it to be shorter in the back. So I'm going to mark out 13, and this will be the full 7. And then over here on the back edge, we want this to be 4 inches. I'm going to do this on both sides, and we'll use the bandsaw to cut it out. Now is the slightly tricky bit of this entire build. First thing you need to do is set the height of your blade to just under the veneer of the plywood, and then set up the range of motion for where you want to cut your kerfs, and do a test piece. Do a test cut, which will depend on your blade on how big of the differences the movements need to be. Mine was 3/16 of an inch, and I marked my entire range and moved my board that 3/16 between each cut. Then cut a back strip to hold the sides of your box together, making sure to take into account the thickness of your plywood. Now is also a good time to cut out any portions of the box to take into account the drive shaft humps in your vehicle. After I started gluing the box together, I decided that I needed a little bit more support in the middle of the box, so I just used a scrap piece of plywood, glued and nailed it into place. This is really the first time putting this in. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so far it looks like this is off a little bit. I could probably cut off another inch over here. Let's go ahead and put a bench down and see what it looks like. Ooh. Nice. So as you can see here, that looks really good. It all looks good until you get to right here, and then Tyler forgot that the middle seat goes back. So now I need to decide if I just cap that or do I want to shorten the whole thing up. I'm guessing I should probably cap it so that I don't lose any more room. The first attempt went pretty well. As you saw, I had the gap in the middle seat that I didn't take account for. So I'm going to take this scrap piece and transfer my marks. I already cut it to length, which was 18 inches to fill that gap. And now I'm just going to transfer the outside lines in where I need the angle to end. And then right here is 1.5 inches. So I'll need to put that angle on the sides, and then I'm going to put a bevel on it of probably about 10 degrees so that it tilts underneath the seat a little bit. To fill in all the kerf marks on the inside of the box and make the whole thing look a little bit better, I used some quick dry spackle. A quick sanding with the orbital sander to break over all the edges, and then I used an abrasive pad on my cordless angle grinder to sand down the inside radius. This worked out super well. I only had to do a little bit of touching up with a scouring pad. Alrighty, got a couple coats of paint on it. Fits in there nice and snug. Let's make sure the seats fold down with it back that far. Nope. Move it up a little bit. Got to get it in front of the hump right over here. There we go. See how far back I can do that. Right about there. Fill her up. That turned out great. Absolutely love how it looks underneath the bench here. Cutting the kerf marks to make that curve worked out perfect. A super easy process. A little bit of setup time though to figure out how much I needed to move the workpiece each time to leave the proper amount of material after the kerf was made. But a little bit of setup worked out great. I'll be definitely using that process again sometime in the near future, as it just adds a super cool look. Much more elegant looking than a 90-degree corner. Hope you guys enjoyed this build. If you did, please hammer that thumbs up button down below. Hit the subscribe button right over there so you never miss when we upload a new video. I'm DIYTyler. You guys have a good one.